who has gone in there and has been part of the problem, trying to be the solution. But at the end of the day, I don't want you to fall down the pajama slope where you're walking around the house at 11:30 in the morning, making yourself your Nescafe in that coffee mug of yours. I want you to know we got good news for you, and that is you can't send COVID by the phone. You can't cop COVID by the phone. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a golden opportunity. Do you know that Ray White Concierge had a survey of all the calls that happened through the first lockdown, and people had 3 times the amount of conversation with an agent representative? Why? Because people had time. People wanted to stop talking to their kids and speak to another adult. So as Rupert Murdoch said, don't waste a crisis, right? You've got an opportunity to get on the phone, and as far as I'm concerned, over-communicate. Don't under-communicate. And if we look at the case study of New Zealand, one of my clients, Ray White Remuera, Megan Jaffe, they just did 92 million in July after coming out of a stage 4 lockdown. So it's really clear. If you're an agent that is spending this time, hey, don't get me wrong, it's a great time to spend time with your family. But as far as I'm concerned, every one of your people should be spending 3 hours, even if they're making a phone call that is, hey, Darren, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. It's business as usual for us in a very, very unusual way. Can I ask you, is there any help I can give you at this time? A nice call that shows that you're there, that you care. Man, you can do that and not worry. You get all these people, oh, don't ring people now. They're going to get pissed off. So just disappear, hide, and become invisible. Man, show care. Get on the phone. Let them know that you're around. Now, what you'll be doing is finding surprise. Some people are going to ask you, well, what do you think the market's going to do? What's happening in the market? Do you reckon it's going to drop down? And all of a sudden, you can have a conversation with that person. So my message to you is don't hide, don't under-communicate, and use this opportunity. People have got time. I'm going back to my slide deck. Here we go. Share screen, come back here. A couple of other things. I want to let you know that I also think to myself that here are a few things that I'd love you to incorporate into your next 4 or 5 weeks daily. Like I bookend my life. It's got to be exercise the first part. It's got to be yoga, something meditative at night, non-negotiable. The next thing is allocate time each day where you're going to go through your inbox. The next thing is have an agenda every day. Spend 3 hours, call, do your video meetings, and spend this time sharpening the saw. This is a golden time where you can sharpen the saw, as Stephen Covey says. Hey, guess what? You got a listing presentation that's 7 out of 10. Let's make it a 10 out of 10. You've never understood how to do live streams? Maybe now's the time to do it. Hey, you're uncomfortable with using Instagram? Hey, I'm going to go spend my time. Spend an hour a day in personal new learning. Because I'm telling you, one of the pieces of intelligence that is lacking because people don't have the time is called acquired knowledge, AQ. Too many people focus on IQ, which is genetic, can't change that. But AQ is acquired knowledge. You've got the time to do it. And the next one is TQ, technology quotient. How much of an appetite have you got to improve your technology? Now, let me just fly through here. Since you're going to be on video all the time, can I just share with you a couple of tips that are going to help you be better? Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to present face-to-face in a specific way, you should match that when you're on video. Appearance, facial expression, body language, video and audio quality, critical. Your backdrop, very important, and frame in video. What's frame in video? It's this. Like, I'm not going to go through it, but some of you are sort of sitting in there and they've got, bobblehead, head that way, skydiver, stargazer. There are some people that have got a window behind them which blocks your lighting, and that's called the witness protection. Then you've got max headroom. This is when you're sitting down like this. And then you've got the Grim Reacher, right? So gang, be mindful of this, because as far as I'm concerned, this is still part of your brand. I'm going to say to you, if you watch Sky News, every person on there is either using AirPods or using headphones or has got a mic. And I'm telling you, audio affects your presentation in a virtual sense. Whether you like it or not, you are in the world of virtual selling. The first virtual thing was the mobile phone. That was the first thing that said, if I can't meet someone face to face, well, I can talk to them on the phone. Now we know that Zoom is added to that. So all I'm saying is, hey, let's go pro in this new medium. Then you've got lighting. Lighting to me is simple rule. Your window must be in front of you. It means natural light. If you don't have the luxury to have yourself positioned like that for the next 4 or 5 weeks, buy a ring light, buy an LED light. It makes an absolute difference. Barbara Corcoran says it takes 15 years off what she looks like when she's using lights. And I've seen her before and after lights look, and she's not far off. The other thing I'm going to share with you is, hey, I don't suffer from depression, but I got to tell you, I look at myself and what I do in real estate, I'm like the panic button person. Because I've been vulnerable and I've shown myself openly on the suffering that I've had, there are others I know here that have had challenges. And I'm telling you straight, right here, right now, these are a bunch of numbers. I know you've got Chris Hanley on who's going to talk about care, but these are numbers that should be circulated amongst your people to know, hey, because we've all got different thresholds on stress. Some people have got a high certainty threshold. I mean, I'm pretty good like that. I mean, I've accepted I'm going to die at some point like everyone else is, so I'm comfortable with uncertainty. But there are other people that they're not exercising, they're at home, they're catastrophizing, and humans are really bad at forecasting the future. They somehow pick the glimmer look. They somehow pick things being worse than what they're going to be. So I suggest, and I know the O'Brien's team, well done, Darren, because when I was on your event the other day doing training for you, you indicated at the end that you've got a support service for your team on counseling for mental health purposes. The other thing I'll say to you before, guys, I finish off is this. You know, I can't help it, but in my own life, I look at my life, and you know what? You learn at ARIC, you learn at training seminars, you learn at books. But for me, I've got to tell you, I've learned in adversity, and I know the feeling. A lot of people don't know that being a business owner at 21 years of age and having $200,000 worth of bills and only $100,000 worth of settlements coming in, and you're sitting there as 21-year-old and you're doing the numbers and you're thinking to yourself, who do I pay first here, right? How do I get through this? I have done most of my learning in life when I've been in the valley, not on the mountain, when I've been suffering, right? Because when you suffer, you actually grow resilience. When you suffer, you actually find out what I'm capable of. And that's why I say that difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. Do you realize that in this 4 or 5 weeks, the person that entered this COVID storm can be a much stronger person that walks out of this COVID storm, because you can physically and mentally work on yourself. You can actually go onto your database that's loaded with fat, right? Because no one's been spoken to for many, many years maybe, and you can start at A, go to Z, and ring people up and say this simple thing. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from O'Brien's. It's business as usual in an unusual way. Could I ask you, when COVID-19 is finished, are you going to buy, or are you going to be sitting on the fence? That's a good way to qualify who's a buyer, right? Who's a hot buyer at the moment and who's not. And then you could ring up your potential vendor list. Hey, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. I want to let you know it's business as usual for us in an unusual way. Can I just quickly ask you, is there any help I can give you at this time? No, great. Secondly, can I ask you, once this thing's all over, I know you'd indicated that you were thinking about coming onto the market in, June next year. Let me tell you what the smart people are doing. They're actually preempting that there could be a few challenges when JobKeeper goes and when banks stop their holiday on mortgages. So we're recommending that we bring our sellers forward and that they sell at a better market with less properties, because I'm telling you, as a vendor, you're better off selling in isolation, not in competition. You can still have all these conversations with people right now. Potentially, you can even sign up a few people if you've got DocuSign and all that. But at the end of the day, guys and girls, all I'm going to say to you is my 10 laws as I finish off. How are we going with time here? Okay, here are my final 10 laws for you. On March the 8th, when my doctor said to me, Tom, you're cancer-free, we want to keep you healthy, get off the planes during COVID. I said, you realize that it's $7,000 a gig? Do the numbers, Dr. Larson. He said, Tom, I'll leave that up to you. I came back, I cancelled all my trips, and I wrote down, and I'm going to share it with you. I wrote down my 10 laws that were going to get me through COVID, and here they are. Law number 1, you got to forget about yourself and you got to focus on others. Number 2, you got to forget about your commodity and you got to focus on your relationship. Number 3, you got to forget about the sale and you got to start focusing on creating value. Don't worry about the commission breath in every conversation. Add value. Number 4, you got to forget about your losses and you got to focus on your opportunities. Number 5, you got to forget about your difficulties and you got to focus on your progress. Number 6, you got to forget about the future and you got to focus on today. Number 7, you got to forget about who you were and you got to focus on who you can be. Number 8, doesn't really matter what number it is. Forget about your events and you got to focus on your responses. Number 9, you got to forget about what's missing and you got to focus on what's available. And number 10, you got to forget about your complaints and you got to focus on your gratitude. And I can tell you, whether you like it or not, we've won the birth lottery. We're in Australia. We've got broadband. We're healthy, so we're in this room. We've won the birth lottery. What if you were born in Saudi Arabia as a female today? It's harder. What if you've been born from a mother that's got HIV in Ethiopia? So guess what? Things aren't great. It's not too bad. I'm going to be honest with you. I was devastated when the school called my girls back in lockdown 1 and said they've got to come back to school. I kind of enjoyed having the girls around after not seeing them for 15, 20 years. I used to come home and my little daughter used to come in and open the door after I'd been away for 4 days and she'd say, stranger danger, stranger, right? So gang, it was sort of okay. Guys and girls, I'm going to leave you. Darren, congratulations on getting together people who generally, for some reason, hate each other's guts in real estate. And I don't know why that happens. So you've done a great job. Gang, was it a useful 15, 20 minute show of hands?
Tom, before you disappear, can I just, someone's asked the question, can we get the list of 10 items?
You can. Think about this as an option. You sit back, you got the recording, you watch it, you write the first one, then you write the second one. But guess what? I'll do it for you. I'll get them typed out and I'll send them to you, Darren, and you can circulate them.
Now, one other thing that I was asked, how important is exercise during a lockdown?
Okay, exercise. If Pfizer or Roche Pharmaceutical or anyone could get exercise, put it in a bottle, they would make millions. Think about what it does. Endorphins, makes you feel less anxiety, helps you sleep, will actually probably make you live longer. It's questionable, but I'd say most likely it's actually going to make you sleep better. It ticks all the boxes. It's the easiest thing to do. And I've got to tell you, I was doing it even during treatment. I'd go in there. I still remember the day I walked in there and I had a tank top on, right? And I'm on the treadmill. Someone comes in and goes, hey, you can't use this. This is a training center for patients of RPA Hospital. And I was getting treatment at the time. It's just that I hadn't lost my hair. And I looked at them and I said, what? They said, you can't use this. This is for patients. And I walked up and I said, ask yourself this question. There's 4,000 gyms in Sydney. Why the hell would I be picking this one? And she said, okay, who's your doctor? I said, Dr. Larson. She said, would you like a towel? I said, it's all good. But can I give you a word of advice? Never assume. And guys and girls, let me finish on that point. Never assume. Never assume that cranky person you're speaking to at the phone hates you. They could be having a shit day. Just never assume the guy that walks in with ripped trousers to an open home is wasting your time. Chances are, my experience is, the grabbier they are, the more money they seem to have, because a lot of people act the opposite way. Anyway, gang, Darren, can I leave it at that?
Fantastic, Tom. Thank you. If Pfizer could bottle the energy, mate, they'd sell plenty of it too. So energy on point. Well done. Thanks so much.
I'm going to go to yoga, and you know what happens? I look at them and I think, look at all these weirdos. All right.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
There, Tom.
Good on you. Leah, where's Leah?
Hutch, can I ask you a question?
You there, Leah? Yeah, Stav's got a question.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go, Stav.
Yeah.
Hutch, I was driving home from the city just before, and you were telling me a story about your grandparents. You come from a horsing background, and you were saying
Racing.
you guys were going through a bit of adversity. So, can you tell me this? Can you tell everyone the story you told me about the cooking?
Yeah, so basically, look, bit of a long story, but I'll try and shorten it up as quick as possible. My grandparents won a race at Ballarat one day. They backed the horse. They had a lot of money on it. And anyway, it won that particular night. This is back in the old grey nurse, the old hundreds. And back in those days, so I was about 13 or 14. I woke up the next morning to do a paper round at 4:30 in the morning, and I found my grandmother sitting in our kitchen. And my folks lived on one side, my grandparents lived on the other. We're in Woods Avenue in Mordialloc. We had 35 stables out the back. And I looked at my grandmother and she was covered in blood. And I said, what's happened? And next minute there's a policeman there. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, what's going on here? Now, they were bashed and robbed in their house that night, pistol whipped. And, you know, as a 13-year-old kid to wake up and see your grandmother there who you idolise, covered in blood, and you know, and the police there, you sort of, yeah, it was horrifying. But anyway, as an industry, and I alluded to this before, the industry is quick to get behind people, even though they're so competitive. And basically, my grandfather and Ross McDonald, who is a very famous trainer, had zero time for each other. They couldn't stand each other. Margaret McDonald, much the same. None of them liked each other. And I remember seeing a semi-trailer pull up the driveway between the two properties at 5 o'clock in the morning, and Ross got out of the truck, and basically I went out in the backyard and I'm listening in, and he said to Dad, he said, go inside, look after your parents, I'll take care of the horses. So 2 loads of horses to the track. He worked all the horses for my grandfather. At 7 o'clock that morning, Margaret turns up with a big basket full of breakfast, and cooked breakfast for all the staff. So as much as they disliked each other, coming back to what Tom said before, you know, it was an incredible industry when people are really down and out, that they just dropped their bullshit and they really got on with things. So, you know, that was when I was a kid, and that was, I suppose, where this has come from. I think as an industry, we need to get around one another and help one another through hard times. And, you know, I applaud all you guys for getting on here, parking the egos, Paul. Because that was one thing that Paul said to me. He said, if there's any hint of ego or agenda, I'm off. So, you know, we've parked the egos, we've parked the agendas, and I'd like to say that openly, you know, if anyone's struggling, my phone's always on, you know, in confidence. I'm happy to pick up the phone anytime and have a conversation. So, and I know Stav is, I know, you know, I look around the room, there's a lot of really good people in here. Nathan Jones, from Buxton, we've got Nick Dowling. You know, I'm sure any of these guys would take a phone call and be there to offer support. So that's me, Steph. So, Leah.
Bravo, Darren.
Oh, we've got Anastasia. So for those of you that don't know Anastasia is one of Melbourne's TV personalities. So Anastasia off Gogglebox. So welcome, Anastasia. Good to see you.
Interesting. I loved your story.
What have you got to say about Dan? I won't go there. It's all good.
About?
Dan Andrews. No, I won't.
Nothing.
Oh, no. I think we better drop that subject.
I'm joking.
I've got my cousin looking at me.
The boss is
Say
shaking
anything,
her.
Anna.
The boss is shaking her head at me, so I better not do that. So, look, I think I'll hand over to Leah now. Can I just say, Leah, on behalf of the whole industry, I've had 17 years in real estate, and I would say for the first 16 years, I felt the REIV was pretty much irrelevant. That was my opinion, and I think under your leadership and Gil's, you've made the governing body or the institute there for us a relevant body once again. And on behalf of all of us, congratulations, thank you, and well done for all your efforts through COVID.
Thanks, Darren. I'd love to take all of the glory, but it's been brewing for a few years, under previous presidents' leadership. But somehow I crossed, clearly a dozen black cats, because I feel like I've done 17 years of real estate in 9 months so far. So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride. I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone for the support. It's been amazing, and I love this collective group. A few of you, I can see faces that I pulled a favour from quite a few of you with regards to the REIV, and we've put together a wellness and a consumer 3-part series. So the first part went out last week. I think Dean and Stav were in that. Adrian, I can see, and Charlotte. So thank you for everyone that volunteered. I'm actually not sure if they volunteered willingly. They just were told they had to do it. So just to bring everyone up to date for what's going on. So we know that you can facilitate services relating to property settlements, and Gil and I discussed this a lot yesterday, and the key word is around making sure that everyone is aware that you can complete services related with anything required in order to facilitate the up and coming settlement. So you guys need to go away and think about that. The way I interpret that is that if I made a sale yesterday and I need to get a valuation through, if I need to get a P&B done, if I need to get anything else done, then those are the requirements in order to complete the up and coming settlement. So sometimes with some of the communication that comes out from the REIV, we have to be very, very careful. But there are sometimes I'll have conversations with people offline to say, this is what I'm doing in my business. This is how we are implementing those practices. We've got confirmation, obviously, that you can finalise a tenancy, being the end of lease final inspection. With that, you have to be able to facilitate the virtual inspection recording. You need to be able to facilitate the ingoing condition report, and government has made a strong request that a contact-free key handover happens, and that would be facilitated by putting a lockbox on site. Now, not everyone's going to have dozens and dozens of lockboxes, so you're going to need to work out how you're going to do that. The challenge, and there's been a few things on the Managing Properties COVID site. I've had to word some of my responses really carefully, but if you have a property that's vacant, that perhaps your final inspection was completed prior to stage 4 lockdown, you might need to go back to that property to finalise something that wasn't quite fully completed at the time of that final inspection, in order for you to go to the property and perhaps do the virtual tour, perhaps do the ingoing, perhaps arrange keys, if you all get my drift. So one of the things we tried today, I spoke with Dan Gammon from REA. So Metro ran a couple of Facebook Live virtuals. We advertised them on REA. I rang Dan and I said, I know it's against your T's and C's, but Metro's going to do this. Please support us. He hasn't taken it down yet, and I'm pretty sure they'll give us a bit of leniency for the 4.5 weeks that we've got left. We then referred people back to the Facebook page, and we've received from the 2 virtual tours we did today, with the PM doing the end of tenancy, so the final inspection, we actually received 5 applications on each property. So I know it's only 2 examples, but I think it shows that it works. The other thing to remember, that you can arrange locksmiths for up and coming settlements. You can organise removalists. You can tenants can organise steam cleaning of carpets, general cleaning, those sort of things. Unfortunately, photography just can't get through, and we won't get that through, I hate to say. And we know now that you can't transfer from, or prospective buyers can't move from stage 4 to stage 3 to view a property in person. But if if any of you guys have properties in stage 3, you can leave your home to facilitate a private one-on-one in a stage 3 location. What else? Oh, just on a side note, I had a tip yesterday, and I actually had it confirmed through somebody quite high up in NAB last night, that the banks seem to be reviewing their risk exposure for unconditional loans. So it just might be something for you all to go away and have a think about with any of your settlements that you might have coming up. They're going to be, or they are analysing, I should say, they are analysing for people who have got unconditional loans of the industry that they are currently employed with, and if they're COVID affected industries. When I asked my NAB owner, and I said to him, is this true? And he said, his words were absolutely, risk is losing their head, and they're doing everything to minimise any risk to the bank. And that seems to be the main 4 banks. I think that's all, Darren, unless there's any questions.
Do you feel that there's going to be any easing sort of towards the latter half of COVID, of the lockdown?
Look, no, I don't think we'll get the private one-on-ones. I think they're really focused on reducing or minimising, traffic and movement across the stage 4 area. Look, I know I'm equally frustrated as you guys. I'm living in Pearcedale at the moment. I went to Somerville yesterday, and the industrial area was buzzing, cars everywhere, and I said under my breath, how the hell do they operate, and we can't do a one-on-one, which we've been able to facilitate so well. But, most probably not. We think that even when we come out of stage 4, it'll still be a very, tightening of the rules. Still that one-on-one, I don't think we'll go back to opens in the immediate future unless we see a dramatic reduction in those numbers.
All right, so I've got a couple of questions here, Leah. This is from Bronwyn Payne. Hi, Leah. Just to clarify, new tenancy can proceed, i.e. virtual inspections, electronic leases, contactless key handover, etc. We have landlords with vacant properties that are in limbo and tenants wanting to submit applications. So that's fine?
Yeah, so new tenancies can commence. Where you just have to be, you have to be careful of the process that you're going to implement around those scenarios where they're brand new listings, because there's no allowance in the current directions that allows you to go to the property for that reason. So it might be that the vendor needs to, or the landlord needs to do the photos or do the virtual tour. If you're going to then arrange the contact key collection, then that's probably the time you would do the condition report. The reality is it's unlikely the police are going to be, approaching a property manager at a property and questioning, but it's more the neighbours dobbing you in, and that's what I'm mindful of.
It's interesting. We had someone pick up their daughter from our place yesterday, and my wife looks after this little girl a couple of days a week to help the family because they've got no support, no family support around them. And Ricky, I think Ricky's actually in the room, but he was here for about 5 minutes, and we had people walking back and forth, and then we had the police in the area within 10 minutes. So someone's obviously
absolutely
and made the call. So
yeah,
it's interesting times. It seems that people are turning on, which is a little bit hard.
Yeah, like everyone's self-regulating. My phone was, running hot on Saturday morning because there was that confusion for some agents. A misunderstanding around an online auction didn't mean you could go to the office to do the online auction. It needed to be done at home. So when we were starting to see live streaming of auctions happening in offices with multiple staff there, it's just, we need to make sure that we're all doing the right thing.
So that was happening on the weekend, Leah. What was the feedback from the government in respect to that?
Look, it didn't get to government level. it was, I think we all handled it quietly.
Right. So
Yeah.
thank God it didn't make the front page of the Herald Sun.
It didn't make the paper. No, I would, yeah, no journalist called on that one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, have we got any questions for Leah? Anyone want to jump in the chat bar and ask Leah any questions? No? Good. Fantastic, Leah. Once again, thank you for jumping on, and thank you for the REIV for what they've done for the industry. I think you've done a fantastic job. And Dean O'Brien,
Thanks.
my business partner's just put in there doing a great job. So
Thanks,
well done.
guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. Okay. We've got Chris Hanley. Are you there, Chris? Hopefully he's in here somewhere. Yeah, Chris is there. We might need you to jump on and unmute yourself, Chris.
How's that?
Just
Here he is.
quickly, Darren.
Yep.
For those that don't know, we've got the REIV elections coming up, and I think Leah's done an exceptional job, and she's definitely got my vote. There's 3 other votes there too, Leah, so you're not going to tell us on air who we should vote for, but if everyone wants to get behind Leah, because I've been part of the REIV for a long time, and what you've done in the last 9 months has definitely been 21 years of real estate, so well done.
Well done, Leah. Okay, Chris, are you there?
Yes, I am, Darren. How are you?
Very good, mate. Can you turn your
You want my volume?
we got volume, we just need video, mate.
I don't know why I haven't got it. Let me see what I can get. Let's see. How's that, Darren?
We've got you now, Chris. We've got you now.
Okay.
So a little bit of background on Chris. Chris is actually a principal in his own right. He's an Order of Australia medal winner. He's a writer, so a very active writer. He's actually the man behind the RISE conference. Unfortunately, the RISE conference never went ahead. And he's also, along with quite a few people that are in this room, I see Nick's in there and a few others, behind the Real Care app. So do you want to just give everyone a bit of an update on what's happening with Real Care, what you're seeing? Obviously, you're up there on the northern coast of New South Wales, sunning yourself, Chris, in Byron, but we're all jealous.
That's it. Yes, I get no sympathy, even if my market's bad, Darren. No one really has any sympathy for me, but my market's not bad. And most of July it was full of Melbourne real estate agents. So a few of the people on the screen there I've said hello to face recently. Hello, everybody. I want to say first and foremost to all of you, from all of us in other parts of the country, we feel for you. And I don't think I went through shutdown with good friends of mine in New Zealand, so I can only have some understanding of what it is. But I hope it's a tunnel. I'm pretty sure it is, not a brick wall, and I'm sure you guys will all pop out the end. Just by way of background, I am a principal. I'm 40 years in the industry. I was part of the group last year that did the first RISE conference. For those of you who don't know what RISE was, it was basically a silly idea that turned into a good idea. We got a whole pile of real estate agents, and we went across to Christchurch. We raised a lot of money for the Kiwis after the shooting there. And when that conference was finished in New Zealand, it was such a success, we decided to have another one in Melbourne, which was a pretty good idea at the time, I thought. The conference was supposed to be on earlier in the year. We put it off, obviously, during COVID, and it was supposed to be on in November of this year. We haven't formally made this decision yet, but we've got a board meeting of the RISE group, some of who are in the screen here now. And we will be, I'm pretty sure, moving RISE to next year. But the whole purpose of RISE, and why it's become even more important, was for us to build an app for us and by us. And that app is called Real Care. And the board of the RISE group, Nick Dowling is here. I think James Keenan and Nick West are here as well. A bunch of people from O'Brien's, good people from O'Brien's, and also Marshall White. Many of the organisations in Melbourne and in Sydney and in New Zealand have got together. We formed the RISE group for the conference And the purpose of the RISE group, which is why Darren's asked me to speak today, was in the end of the day to have a conference with a different focus. And number two was to build and then launch an app, a mental wellness app for us, built by us and for us. By way of background, we're using a Victorian company called Utility Creative. Utility Creative has built apps for, amongst other organisations, the New Zealand and the Australian and Victorian Police Force and the Canadian. They specialised in this particular area. They're a wonderful organisation. We work with them now for the better part of the year on the process of building the app. And Darren and others won't know this. The app is nearly finished. The app, by way of general description, is a triage. Australia has the best mental health services in the world, but we wanted to build an app that was for our people. So for our receptionists, for our property managers, for our bosses, for our young salespeople, for our experienced salespeople. So behind the scenes and during COVID, and many of the people who were involved in today's session, their staff have come together in their businesses while COVID's been on. We've been seriously busy during COVID building the app. And what it basically means is that we've got all these people together. The people who've partnered with us have listened to them, and we've crafted an app that's going to go into people's phones. Now, I won't get bogged down in the detail now, but instead of launching the app at the conference in November, we've made a change of direction in the last couple of weeks, and we will now have a launch, a virtual launch of the app. Why? Because we need the app now all over the country. We've also folded in some new sections into the app because of COVID, particularly mental health as it's affected by financial stress, which is obviously a big issue at the moment. So we've created a device that's the cutting edge technology, the best in the world, out of Melbourne, using feedback from all the different levels of people from real estate. And we will in September do a soft launch and then a hard launch in the month of October within our profession. Now that's the general overview. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm not a tech expert, but I know the general gist. And the most important thing I want to say to you here, RISE and the building of the app, I'm 40 years in our profession, is the most inspiring, cooperative thing I've ever been involved in all my years in real estate. To work with all the brands and all the people that I've had the honour of working with, again, many of them are here, it has been fantastic. We've all got a common purpose. There's no brands in this, if you like, and everybody who's involved in this for the last year has done all the work for free in the middle of COVID. And you want any more, I can't think of anything more inspirational. No one's got any dough out of this, and people have used their toil and their hard work to help us build this. And I want to repeat, I think we all know it, our staff and our people need it now more than any other time. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Darren, if that helps, if anyone wants to ask us.
Any questions out there, guys? Anyone want to jump on and throw a couple of questions at Chris? So I'll start then, Chris. You talk about the fireys and the police force. What sort of numbers from an interaction point of view were they getting with their app?
It's a good question. We discussed that today. Over a third of the staff in different professions have level of engagement with the app. I suspect, Darren, that ours will be that high. Launching an app in the middle of the strangest time in Australian history, and it is. The only people on I think on our planet and our part of the world at the moment who've got some understanding of what this is like with people who have been through wars, I'm guessing. This is a sort of a war against an invisible virus. But they're the numbers, 25 to 30% is the engagement level. The technology is so cutting edge that you're able to, not only are we building the app I probably left out the best bit here. We're trying to do this for free. We're trying to do this so we can put it out into our profession for free. And there'll be a contract, a maintenance contract, which we've had proposed to us, which is very, very reasonable. And what happens is, as we use the app, I don't want to be rude to the Australian app, but the difference with ours, I think, will be that it will be used virtually straight away, downloaded and used. It'll be trialled before we start it, so all the bumps will be out. And then what happens, it gets developed every quarter, every year, and changed and adapted as more and more people use it. And if we need to fold new things into it, to place new sections in it, to make changes, we will do that. But 25 to 30%, Darren, is the answer to the question.
So Kirk Stafford's asked a question. Are the various REIs getting behind the app?
No one's not getting behind it. And we've been able, through the partnership, your city's been the main driver behind this. You should all be proud. You know, we've got engagement in New Zealand, we've got it in New South Wales, and we've got it in other parts of the country, in South Australia and Western Australia. But the drivers behind this is your city, your brands. You guys have done a lot of the heavy lifting. As I said, you're all in the room. Now, the REIs will be all over this once we have it finished. But we've just had a small group of people working through this. It's the best way to get it done. And once the tech's ready, we'll get to all of them. And there'll be soft launches and hard launches. And by that, we want the most people to use it. So this isn't about a particular group have built this thing just for their people. Our aim, just in case you don't know, there's roughly the same number of real estate agents in the country as there are farmers, 85, 90,000, right? There's a lot of us. For those of you who don't know, there's more people in real estate than there is in iron ore, coal and oil put together, right? So the REIs will support us. I've got even, more exciting news. Your government down there is supporting us. The state government in New South in Victoria has been supportive. I've had meetings with people right up to the highest levels of ministers down there, as I have in New South Wales. All of the governments want help in this area. The difference, we haven't gone to the government asking them for anything. We've gone and built this thing ourselves for us. Governments love it when you go to them and you've done this thing without saying, give us the money and we'll do this thing. So we've gone, we've told them what we're doing. They're excited by it. And yes, Darren, anyone you talk to about this gets excited because it's specifically for us, if that makes sense. So it's tailored to what makes our life difficult, whether you're a 19-year-old cadet or a 69-year-old boss. That's what it's tailored for.
Fantastic. A couple of other questions here, Chris. How do we become part of the trial? Gillian Hurst has asked.
It's a good question. We haven't, and I'm speaking here without consulting with Nick Dowling and James Keenan and James Redfern and some of the other good people I've been working with here. But the general belief is a lot of you bought tickets to Rise. There's a lot of you. Rise was a sold-out event. It was amazing. So probably what we'll do in the first soft launch is what we need to do is trial it. So we'll probably use the people who bought Rise tickets, Darren. It's a good question. And then we'll go out into the individual networks. The apps work best, I think we've all heard this, by the more people that you get engaged with the process, downloading it and then using it. But we'll probably start with the ticket holders. But if the app developers tell us we need more, then we'll go out to all of you, boys and girls there, and ask you and engage with more of your staff.
Fantastic. And Andy Reed's just asked a question. What are the key abilities going to be at launch?
I knew some of these questions would be above my pay grade when it comes to tech, but this is how it's been explained to me, and I'll probably do a poor version of this, but the federal and the state governments in this country, whether it's Beyond Blue or Lifeline or all of the other amazing services, the issue or the challenge seems to be within the mental health space. And I'm not an expert. I've been on the most rapid learn process in the last year that anyone's ever been on. But this is how I understand it. I understand that we've got the best services in the world, not in the world, in this country. The Kiwis will tell you that, and other people will. By that I mean the governments give ample money to these amazing support services. And personally, in my house, I know a great deal about Lifeline. My partner's involved in Lifeline. Now, what I understand is the problem or the challenge for all of your staff and for you individually and for people we love is where to go. Where do I go? The technology now is a triage. My understanding is that triage, and for those of you who are not from medical background, triage just seems to mean it gets you sorted and sends you to the right place. So the technology will allow you to be sent to the right place virtually immediately, right, to get the help you need. That's the question is a good one. So the tech is a conduit to send you to the right places that already exist. And whether it's all of these wonderful services, Darren, that the federal and the state governments have given all this extra funding to, it's getting people to those places that's the issue, where the professionals are on the other end of the phone or the text line, because there's a whole pile of different ways of doing it nowadays. I don't know whether you all understand this. I didn't. But texting, for example, is one of the fastest growing areas of mental health support and mental wellness. So all of these parts are going to be incorporated in the app, in the technology.
Fantastic. So we're going to have to keep moving, Chris, but thank you so much for jumping on. Hopefully the weather's horrible up there. We'd hate you to have great weather while we're all in isolation and lockdown.
I'll lie to you, Darren, and tell you it's raining cats and dogs outside, but no, it's not. Listen, good luck, everybody, and we're all, we're all vouching for you at the moment. So good luck. Pop out the end of this, okay?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, I'm going to throw over to Jason Spencer from Homely. Jason's the CEO or co-CEO. I see Adam's in the room as well of Homely. So, what's the interaction that you're seeing with buyers at the moment, Jason?
It was pretty scary April, May. I run a company with 60 people, and we are the best described as the challenger upstart portal to the all-dominant realestate.com. And I see a few people here from Scotty. I'd love to meet you, well, one day in person, but I've heard a lot about you through Hutchie, who do a fantastic job at REA. And when you're, you're building a company, you've got 60 people, you've got 400 financial partners. It's terrifying when something like this hits. I've been through GFC, 20% interest rates, September 11 cap raises, pales into insignificance. But one thing we should all be thankful for, that we're in the shelter market. There are some industries that have hurt incredibly. My best friend owns the Subway sandwich at Crown Casino and La Trobe Uni, and he's been forced to sell his home. So they're not opening anytime soon. So we're blessed that we're in this space. We will get through it. What has been exciting for me is I'm every day speaking to principals all around Australia. Queensland, South Australia, lesser extent WA, it's as if nothing's going on. They are trading fantastically, record volumes, and it gives us hope that when we come out of this lockdown, that as soon as confidence comes back, I think we might have a delay of the spring selling season, but I can see some fantastic numbers coming down the line. Interest rates at the lowest they've ever been. Unfortunately, there will be a lot of people that do need our services and will need to sell. We did see buyer inquiry drop 30 to 40% across April, May, but June, July, June was up 30% and then 18% in July. Transactions are being done. Obviously, you would know more than I do about that. The confidence that I see no reason why that shouldn't continue going into spring. I'm not involved in day-to-day transactions around real estate, but I guess those challenges are being met by many service providers in the industry around virtual tours and services like that. I have spoken regularly through Hutchie to people like Damien Cooley, who have obviously been rolling out their own auction platforms. And I'm not sure how they work. You're probably best to tell me, but I'm seeing transactions being done on our side.
Fantastic. What's your predictions when we finally do get back, being able to do inspections and auctions as we know it and everything else?
Well, I think let's get back to stage 3 first.
Mm.
That's the first step. And I think in stage 3, transactions were happening, properties were being sold. So I think if that happens, confidence comes back. I'm a little concerned about Sydney right now. They're worried that they're the next Victoria, and they're all wearing masks now. They're starting that process, and it doesn't take much in terms of confidence for that to impact. And I'm talking to some significant players in Sydney who are a little worried. So they're trying to get every transaction they can through now.
Fantastic. Guys, we're running out of time. I'm going to throw to a couple of people in the room. So I'm just going to pick a couple of people out. Swifty, I see you're on there. Jason sees iPad. So Jason's got the Hodges office in Mentone. How are your team dealing with the lockdown and isolation and everything?
I'm very proud of them. It took us a while to come up with the decision to get an office manager, Mark Pearman, who probably one of the best decisions we've made, well, since I've been there in 21 years, because to be honest, I think we've got last count 23 in the office there now, and he's taken a huge weight off our shoulders in organising when we obviously no one knew that we could be faced with something that's on the desk now, on the table now. So very proud of that. And but I tell you now, guys, one thing that we have done, and we started it, we're doing like once a week. We've got someone allocated to do a recipe. So this week or today we had the pea and ham from Kevin. All these little things. Just take your minds off it. Little things like that. We've got someone doing a movie review. It doesn't all have to be real estate related. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's and I think without being judgmental, if that's the right word, we all know that the sales department is a different animal, if you like, to the property management department. And one problem that I've always felt that we've had is bringing those two parties together. Do you know what I mean? Because they are two totally different characters. However, I'm seeing this as 6 weeks where we've just employed 2 new property managers, and the last thing I want to do is get to the end of 6 weeks whereby we've had 2 people working for us, we haven't even spoken to them. I think this is a really good opportunity to bring those 2 different departments together. The property management department, we've got just over 1,000 on the rent roll there, but to bring them, so we've got 8 property managers in that downstairs, to bring them all together on a bit of a social level, on a bit of a get to know each other. You know what I mean? It doesn't all have to be real estate based, and like you say, naturally checking in with each other to see the welfare of themselves and their families. But I think it's also important to get to know each other so that when you do go back in 6 weeks, we can have a laugh, and it's a really good opportunity to bond with each other. And we're doing the recipe thing. We're doing a bit of physical things. We're doing planking and the press ups. Of course, it goes without saying that the Wog Andrew Prusy, no hope at that. But no, like I say, have a bit of fun. And each member of the office has taken it upon themselves to, like I say, do a bit of a movie review. I'm doing the food next week, the recipe next week. Kevin, like I say, did the pea and ham today. Have a bit of fun, bring them all together. It's a chance for you to get to know each other better than you would have done if you could have worked with each other, over 5 years. This is an opportunity over 5 weeks where you can get to know each other, and it's about caring. It's about loving each other. You know what I mean? It's a family. You spend more time in that bloody office than what you do at home.
Correct. So a one-team approach, Swifty.
Hey, yeah.
One-team approach.
Yep. The office, like I say, we all know the property management team, the sales team, that they're totally different. I think one thing that we found, I myself have found over 21 years, is that you walk in the office in sales and you think it's all about sales. And if you're the owner of the business or you manage the office, it's not all about that. It takes 2 minutes of time to walk into the other room where the property managers are, show them a bit of love, see how their family are going. I've been guilty of this. We all have. Do you know what I mean? And just to see, just to check in on them. And I think we all get wound up, and we all get, in that bubble of it's all about sales. Nothing, the property management doesn't matter so much. And even if you're not the owner of the business or the manager of the office, it's important just to, see how everyone's going. And like I will say, people aren't in it necessarily for the pay packet. They're not. At the end of the day, it's about just being appreciated, saying thank you, saying hello. Is everything okay? Checking in with them. We shouldn't need something like this just to check in on the guys.
Fair call. Fair call. I'm going to throw over to Nick Dowling. Now, we've gone a touch past 6 o'clock. Is everyone okay to keep going for a few more minutes? Thumbs up?
Yeah.
Yes? All good? Nick, Nick's the CEO of Jealous Break. Nick, how are you finding your team coping?
Oh, you're out there today.
Yeah, hi Archie. Hi everyone. Look, it's up and down. It's it's probably a bit easier this time than first time around, I think. So look, we're just trying to do the basics really well. From a head office point of view, we're communicating very regularly. There's a lot more training, obviously with a focus around mental wellbeing training rather than real estate training. We've had some great speakers in. We had Ben Crow in this morning. We've got him for 3 weeks, 3 sessions over 5 weeks, just helping people look after themselves and connect. We're talking a fair bit about what we think will happen. People are living in an uncertain world. They want to hear from their leaders as to what they think will happen. And we're probably more optimistic than we have been for a while about what it's going to look like in 4 or 5 weeks' time. I might just give a quick plug to the Rise thing too. I've been lucky enough to be invited in to help with that with Chris, and Chris was probably being modest about the amount of work that he's done on that and just how much that was ready to go until COVID hit that for 6, like everything else. It's just important that everyone knows that whilst we're calling it an app, it's really a mental wellbeing service for the industry, and it's for everyone in the industry. And it's not until everyone knows what it is that it's there to use, funded by the industry, that people will actually use it. So please keep an eye out for that virtual event coming up and give it to your staff. It's there to be used, and it's a really, really lengthy resource. It's got a lot of resource within the app for people who don't want to actually talk to someone or go through to a professional level. It's very comprehensive. So please remember that and promote it to your teams when we start to launch it. But look, I think it's mainly just about communication, Hutchie, and staying close to your people. I think the property managers are doing it harder than anyone. It's just been such a heavy load. So we've got some of our admin team that don't have as much work shifting in to help some of those. We're offering for sales PAs to help out the team members, and people are getting a real buzz out of that, and it's actually helping quite a lot. So in a number of ways, I think the broader team obviously misses being with each other physically, but through everything that we're doing, they're actually telling us that they're all getting a lot closer, but it takes a lot of effort. So you've just got to stay positive and, stay in regular communication with each other. And well done to you on setting this up. It's a great initiative.
Too easy. Stav, you want to say something?
Yeah, I watched a really good interview with Adrian. G'day, Adrian. Adrian's a good friend of mine. We used to work at Ray White together back in '95. So that's a long time ago. Adrian had hair then, and he was a lot skinnier. But he did it. Adrian, you had a really good interview with Andy Reid on your podcast that you do on Facebook. Can you discuss some of the issues that Andy is facing, or if Andy wants to do that, and some awareness? I think that's really important. You had me engaged, so I'm sure you'll have everyone else engaged.
There's probably only 2 things that I'd stress out of it, and Andy would add a lot more value, I'm sure. But the big F word, and that is on how our staff are feeling. I think we get caught up often about how you're going, how's it at home. But I think if you hit it between the eyes and ask how they're feeling, and then just listen, I think it's. And then the 1 to 10, well, Andy will tell that better, but it's. It's so important. I've seen a few messages with Andy and Craig from 100 Words, and I've never met him, but he reached out to me 12 months ago and frequently, I think weekly, sends me a message and says, how am I going? I think last 2 days ago, I said to him I was a 6.7. And he said, how do I get you up, mate? I said, I'm now at a 7.1. I certainly have some fun with it, but the serious component of it's really valuable. And just seeing how my own stress levels, call it mental health, call it, I'm in the same boat as everybody. And somehow I've got to lead 30 good, great staff and be the best that I can be, and whilst run a household and run a family. Mind you, they run me, so that's pretty good. But yeah, thanks for being engaged, mate. It's the Real Estate Story podcast is a bit of fun, and it's one of those innovations that nimble little businesses like mine can apply.
Oh, I love it. Andy?
Yeah, the whole asking the question out of 10, because one of the bigger movements going around Australia is "Are you okay?" And it's a great movement. It's done so much to raise awareness, but the problem is it's a really closed question that you can quite happily just sort of brush away. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm fine. But what Craig Turton introduced to me was this question: is how are you going out of 10, or how's your day out of 10? And it's just such a non-intrusive way of getting people to actually reflect on how they genuinely are feeling, right? And then, so for example, if someone says, "Oh, I've had a 8 out of 10, awesome. What's been a win?" Or what could you do to get it to a 10? Or what could you have done to get it to a 9 or a 10? And then if someone's repeatedly saying to you that I'm having a 2 or I've had a 3 or a 4, then it can, that level of consistency at whatever level sort of can ring some alarm bells quite subconsciously and quite subtly. And that, because it's just such a hard thing to open up about. And so the fact that question in itself gets people to actually reflect it's an incredibly easy and an incredibly powerful question to ask. And the other thing was just breaking everything down into the simplest steps you can possibly break them down into. So, even as much as, if you're really struggling to pick up the phone or get the energy to pick up the phone to, you've got a list of, say, 100 vendors or whatever, just start with one. Get that one, all right? And then from there, once you've got that one, go to the next one and just focus on each one at a time and just stay present in the moment for each phone call. And before you know it, you're going to have got a massive chunk of work done and not even realized. So breaking it down into the simplest of steps is really, really critical.
What I like about it, Adrian and Andy, is that we're all at home and we're all doing our work, and I'm surrounded by screens everywhere. And I don't, I've been really positive because I don't watch the news. I've thrown the TV out. But what I do have things like your Facebook thing going, Adrian. I've got Tom Panos going. I've got Josh Fegan going. But I've got, I call it, positive mindset. And I just have just positive stuff playing rather than listening. Because you know what? Someone's already going to tell me what the numbers are for the day. If no one does, Rod will, because he has a competition going every day. But someone will. So I don't need to see it on repeat. And what I find is the negative news is on repeat again and again. And the reason they do it is because they want to sell newspapers. They want to sell headlines. They want people to engage. They want you to watch the 6 o'clock news or the current affair. And that's why they sell these headlines. And negative stuff sells, but not positive stuff. So I've turned everything on, and I love watching things like you, Adrian, and Andy, and as I said, Josh Fegan and Tom. And of course you, Anastasia, as well. I've got to watch my cousin on Gogglebox. So if anyone hasn't seen Gogglebox, jump on Gogglebox. But no, thank you guys. Back to you, Hutch.
All right, I think we've gone over time, team. So we said 5 to 6, and everyone's probably
Can I just say something?
itching for a wine and some dinner. Yes, Anastasia, go ahead.
What I want to say is that last season of Gogglebox, when we were finishing the show, people were writing to me and the other participants, why are you coming off, through all these tough times, you're making us all happy, laughing, whatever. So if you ever do feel you're down or whatever, tune into our show. We'll make you laugh. You know what I mean? It's an hour that your mind can just go somewhere else for an hour. Just that.
So where do we find all the repeats?
If you can either, we start filming, so not next week, the week after, it's back again live, like, the new season. But if you want repeats, you can go on, you can find them on YouTube or Foxtel if you've got Foxtel.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And during the first lockdown, Gogglebox was the highest watched show on TV.
Wow.
It for an hour, it just got everybody away from everything and just to have a good laugh with real people and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it to be smart, please. I generally, you know, about mental health, because I've got someone in my family that's got mental health problems. So that's why I understand. So, you know, people said for an hour, you just got us thinking about something else, you know. So if you, yeah.
Another good laugh too was watching some of the Collingwood grand finals through the night.
Yeah, go Pies.
Don't you love the ability to mute Rod?
Hey,
guys,
see all the Wogs smile when Anna spoke. The Malinaros, the Buteras, Spiro, they all put a smile on their face. All the Wogs joined together.
Yeah, Wog power, yeah.
So I'm conscious we've gone well.
It's hard times at the moment. You know, you've all got to stick together, I guess, you know, get through it. It's, you know, stay positive. That's what I say.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anastasia. We're going to wind up there, guys. So we've gone well over. As I said, people are going to want a wine and dinner. Can I just thank everyone for coming on, jumping on, and getting together as a collaborative group. The boys at Homely, thank you so much. You know, great. It's great to have. It's great to have Homely and realestate.com in the same room without them killing each other. Great to have all the agents in the room without killing each other. But, you know, Nick Dowling from Jealous Craig. We've got Carmel Kellett. I missed Carmel earlier. So from Hodges. Paul Stoner has been in. Nathan Jones from Big and Scott. Obviously Andy and Swifty and everyone else that's jumped on. Thank you, everyone, for being involved. I see Phil DeFagley down there. Danny Trans raising his hand. I don't know what that's about. But look, thank you. And I just reiterate, get around your team, get around your people. You know, and if you're down in the dumps, if you're down in the dumps and need someone to speak to, you know, pick up the phone and you know, have a chat. My phone's always on. Stav's phone's always on. I'm sure anyone in this room would pick up your call and have a bit of a chat. So stay well, and we'll do it again next week, same time.
Well done, Hutch. Thank you. Cheers.
Right. Not all.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Here's Danny Chen.
Thank you,
Danny Chen.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank
Cheers.
you. I just walked the dog.
Oh, you walked the dog, Danny. I can see you now.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night.
And it's great. Very glad to hear all of you.
Night, Danny. All the best. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
One day you can see me. Bye, duck.
See you next week. Cheers.
Yeah,
see you, Ron.
thank you. Say bye-bye from the Murray by Nong River.
Oh, very good. Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye, everyone.